evening, ladies and gentlemen. The most popular word today in this country and the world is Namo. Am I right? But for me, the most important word this evening is education. E for education, and the most important alphabet is E. If I had to talk about education, I would truly be sitting down and thinking about what it is all about and how it connects us all, and what is it that keeps us going, even if someone like me has been into it for the last 52 years. If I had to introduce myself again, all I would say is that here is somebody who is the senior-most citizen of the gathering. And that gives me such a great pleasure. Who can ever say that a teacher can say that my time is over? Because it's education that keeps you going, and every single day is a learning moment. If N is for Namo and E is for education, for me, education is empowerment, it is exposure, it's experience, it's expansion, it's explosion. India is exploding with the space in education. It's effectiveness, it's eagerness, it's entitlement, it's excellence, and it is an emergent need of this country. And it leads to employment. It certainly is encyclopedic. It's engagement, it's endearment, it's exceptional, it makes you eloquent, it makes eminent people, and surely it leads to a better economy. Why is it that I, as an education, seem to be so enthusiastic? I'm not necessarily an expert, but it is my endeavor to evaluate every single day as to where I am and where do I want to go. And its most important quotient is the emotional quotient. It certainly is encouraging to believe that. It is enriching to be what I am, and it is what creates enablers and all of you sitting here, the entrepreneurs. Do you agree with me that E has the best kinds of words, largely because it begins with E as education. When one talks about the schools of tomorrow, and if you can put all these thoughts into your mind and all those words that I said, I don't think I have to say anything more. Education is all that one has just mentioned. The schools of tomorrow, do you think are going to be any different from the schools of yesteryears? If Rip Van Winkle, after sleeping for how many hundreds years, woke up and walked on this earth, he would be able to recognize only one place. And which would be that place? Which would be that place? It would be a school, or it would be schools, because one entity that has not changed, that is the children. You may say, no, the children of today are different from the children of yesterday. But let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the child in you is the same as the child was in your parents and your grandparents. That really doesn't change in reality. He may have been more wired before birth. He may be more technology savvy. He may be more demanding. He may be believing in taglines, but a child is a child. Whether it is the infra or the building or the facilities or the equipment or the technology or the ERP, let me assure you that if there is anything that we can do today, it is in the education space. So you're all very, very fortunate to be in that space, and we are really lucky to be able to contribute there. There are some amazing statistics which will give you a very, very optimistic picture of what you are doing and what you can possibly do. And I'm sure as K-12 educational partners, you will be able to support the highest level within the business and the schools, and the concurrence at all levels is to ensure quality of alignment with educational goals for students. And I'm sure technology integration in the 21st century classrooms will develop your students and teachers, which will be certainly influenced by technology to meet the requirements of the Indian way of life. India cannot be compared to any other country. India, thousands of years old, 5,000 years, you and I have that blood running in our veins. That same blood runs in the veins of our children. The education of tomorrow will be no different from the education of yesterday, because our child is a gold mine, as I call him. And I'm sure the personalized learning and responsive teaching that we are thinking about will emerge in the way you will think and the way our children will think. I wait for a day when the child will tell me, "Teacher, can you teach me the way I want to learn and not teach me the way you want to teach?" That will be the school of tomorrow. And I'm sure building such minds is in the hands not only of the parents, but also of the teachers, who for me are not just teachers, they are necessarily the gurus. There are some amazing fact finds which sometimes worries you, but it also makes me believe that there is a huge space for education in this country. The time has arrived when education is not an expenditure, it is an investment. The size of K-12 industry is expected to increase from USD 37 billion to USD 51 billion by 2015. The K-12, a part of the formally regulated education system, which is the only crying issue in my mind, because there is too much of regulation there, for 48% of the market share must be run on not-for-profit basis set up under a trust or a society. But the truth here is a little hurting. People want to make schools, I assure you, because it gives them bread and butter. Anybody thinks that schools are being opened only for charity is mistaken. So when will that day emerge? When will the sun rise when we will be able to have education which will be privatized? The government of India spends 4.2% of its total budget on education, but the trickle is not even 1% into the hands of those who must be the beneficiaries. They say the K-12 sectors caters for students in the age group of 3 to 19 years, true. But what a debate for a 3-year-old in Delhi, where it was debated whether it is the right time to go for him or her to school or not. And finally the Mahurat came, and it did not come from the educationists, it came from the legal department or from the directorate. What a pity. Do we need that kind of regulatory? According to NCERT, there is an immediate need for 20,000 to 25,000 more quality schools. 39% of the children of K-12 age are not currently enrolled in schools. 142 million eligible children in India do not receive an education, and at the higher secondary level, grade 9 to 12, the figure rises to 68%. What is happening is certainly very, very sad. And who is going to open the schools? As a member of the PPP Planning Commission and on the round table in the HRD ministry, all that I did was to return from the meetings and cry. The current industry size, USD 37 billion, growth rate 16%, number of schools 1.4 million, government schools 1.2 million, and private schools only 2 million. You represent only 2 million. Students enrolled 240 million, and additional requirement, as I just said, of 20,000 to 25,000 schools. I feel so happy in some ways because the role that you can play is something absolutely amazing and enormous, because the growth rate here is 14%. 57% rise in e-learning at K-12 level. 70% education budget is focused on schooling for achieving higher gross enrollment ratio. And 30% rise year on year in IB curriculum schools, which I think is a good idea, but I'm sure our local boards are not worse. And I say once again that the size of K-12 education in India is 1.32 lakh crores in 2012, and it's going to be 2.34 lakh crores in 2016. So how are we going to meet this need? Because if there is one worry, and that worry is for the teacher, we are looking for एक खोज, एक सोच. ज़रूरत है, श्रीमती की नहीं, पर ज़रूरत है एक अध्यापिका की, एक अध्यापक की, एक महा और एक मुखिया की. It's a matter of concern that we have hungry students with a fire in the belly for learning, desire to be someone, but unfortunately, there are schools, but there are no teachers. I do hope that this session that we have come together for will be addressed on the issues that one has tried to touch upon directly and indirectly. I'm very grateful to Franchise India for bringing us all together and giving me an opportunity in my bonus years to be able to sit with this delightful panel that has much more to share and tell us all about, for I think education is a living being. And let us all hope that we'll be responsible for making this country the most educated country in our lifetime, so that education and development will go together. Thank you.